say about the voice and the sound and everything. So, uh,
Where was that? Where was that comment in Lord Mayher?
the Lord Meher, page 360,
Oh,
360 and 361.
so
And
early on in Lord Mayher.
yeah, in Lord Meher online. Yeah.
I'll check that out. I was wondering, based on, it's an interesting consideration of the contrast between Krishna and Arjuna's dialogue in Sanskrit and that of Narina and Baba in her
Right.
through her intuition. And I think in terms of the idea of the importance of the source, that they're really, it's such a contrast, English versus Sanskrit, that people, I think, kind of would have a tendency to dismiss it. But, it's when as I was taught, that the closer you get to the transcendent, where sound thought emerges from, the name form corresponds, the Namarupa form of correspondence is true for any language at that level. It's just that Sanskrit preserves it to a greater degree.
Yeah, it appears so. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I mean, like Baba says in this particular thing that I just sent you, all sounds originate from that universal sound, Om, and
Oh,
that sound is there everywhere. What our mouths are just a channel for that sound to emanate through.
oh,
So,
yeah,
that to me,
yeah.
that to me was very interesting. The sound is already there. We're just channeling it through our our the device that Baba gave us.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. And it's interesting, when the whole idea of, in terms of our sanskaras, it's through thought or voice, but we can spend those sanskaras with lesser impact, so to speak.
oh, definitely, yeah. When definitely, I was, I had a crazy thought. If I snap the sound of the music that that all this divine music that people sing,
Yeah.
maybe it'll just turn out to be Om at some point.
Well,
So,
I actually did a, a, a research paper when I got my master's degree on well, actually I did at the end of it, I didn't have this content in the final one, but it had to do with the name form aspect of the phonemes, the sounds of Sanskrit applied to Agnim, the first word of Rig Veda. And it turned
oh,
out that Agnim translated as fire, but also when I was taught it, it also stands for creation. And it turned
oh,
out that it's a perfect description of the mechanics of creation. And I was interested in the relationship between sound and silence. So if you think of the breath as silence with respect to speech, um, Agnim describes the process of phonation, the air from the lungs passing through the vocal cords to produce the most universal sound, which is the
mm.
short A sound. And yeah, that was really mind-opening for me. And so anyway, yeah, I think it's I really appreciate you sending that. I'll look forward to looking at it.
Yeah.
So next this week we're going to do the last three. By the way, welcome Barbara, Diane, Jay Baba. We're going to read the last three of Baba's tour of 9 days through Central India, and then next week we're going to do the must play as I saw it, and then there's a two-part Ajmer Memories, which is a tour through Ajmer. I think we'll be able to do all of those, but that'll be next week's. So I guess without further ado, we're ready to begin. I am recording, right, Diana? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so because I did see that it gave me a note saying that it is being recorded. Yeah.
Okay, very good. And so this is what we'll be reading. Do you want to start, Rosalie? I'll start. So Sri Meher Baba's tour of 9 days through central India. This is the third in a series of 6 talks by that, 6 articles by that name. It is late at night when we approach Navsari and unusually cold. Baba recalls, let me just get rid of this. Baba recalls on his board all the names of the different members of the D family as if he were gathering them ahead in his unfathomable way before entering the outer details of their lives and personal problems. These names I have inscribed in my heart with the sincere wits to keep them alive forever, the charm of their spiritual friendship. The 4 brothers, S, J, B, and A, and the women related to them, also the younger generation, numbering many sons and daughters of the 3 brothers of Surabji Desai. Surabji Desai is the author of 100 volumes on a variety of subjects, social, religious, and also on well-experienced spiritual philosophy. His last book is called My Celestial Rambles, in which he explains the purpose and lives of the great masters with whom he has been personally acquainted. Usually at any Indian station where Baba has once passed, it is like fire. The news spreads in a spectacular way with leaps and bounds from street to street, from home to home. He is cheered like a king and hailed with cries of Shri Sadguru Meher Baba Maharaj Ki Jai. Hail the perfect master Shri Meher Baba. Resounds in swinging waves along the streets and squares. This time, his arrival is kept unofficial and private. He is received at the station of Navsari by the intimate members of the family without ceremony. A quick embrace, and his car disappears into the night.
A real feast of love was waiting for him in the dear old home where he had visited several times before. The numerous members of the family are standing in line with solemn mood, taking Baba's darshana. Baba, in his divine, easy flowing manner, suddenly breaks the conventional rigidity and puts everyone at ease, making them smile and express their true hearts filled with joy over the arrival of their great guest. After a few moments, Baba expresses the desire to visit his dear old man and tells us to follow. We pass through a huge library filled with a long line of pictures hanging in uneven rows, and the many bookshelves throwing dark shadows and filling the whitewashed walls almost to the ceiling. We enter the dimly lighted sick room. Baba stands before the dying man, who offers no resistance. His soul extended into him, ready to obey the call. There stands God, exchanging in joy and bliss the trial of life of a man who, conscious of his fulfilling state in new realization of life as truth, recognized the friend standing before him to act as truth, as I divine. Baba, without solemn attitude, after a few moments, as if he had dropped a veil over the failing life, makes a sign for all to leave. Supper is prepared in a vast passage space, a sort of open-air dining room situated between the main building and the kitchen house. A long table covered with green leaves heavy laden with fresh fruits, nuts, sweetmeats, and tea is ready to restore us. Baba presides at the table. The divine psychological juggler at once changed the rhythm and mood of everyone present. A whimsical glance, very difficult to decipher, brings to the surface some humorous intimation. With Baba, life is never sad. Baba does not want us to mourn over passing things. He helps us to hold free within the vision of the merry state in being, that lightness in spirit that makes one feel detached from the uncertainties of life. We then realize that death is truth function. We know that the trespassing show, in its fluid motion, is the fulfilling order of the divine will that is love. Baba, clapping his hands, gives the signal for all to retire. He spells on the board, "Now all go to bed and do not worry." He embraces us one by one, and laying his hand on the head of each, brings in stillness and deep understanding. We are shown to a small joint cottage on the same estate, which has been specially prepared for Baba and his party.
The next morning at 5:30, Baba gives the unmistakable signal for all to arise. At 7:30, all members of the family are to assemble in the library. The first news is that Sorabji had a restful night. Baba pays a visit to Sorabji, entering the room alone, and remains inside for a few moments. When signed to take care of the patient, furthermore, he gives dispositions that the wedding feast for the 300 guests should be called off, and only a few near relatives and friends should be invited to the marriage ceremony of the 27th of December. That date remains unchanged. Baba further dispositions are to exclude the crowds for the darshana that same day, as he wants to see only those few who later in the evening are asked to call and commune in silence with him. To us, he expresses the same order and states, "I do not want to meet the masses here now. They will come when I speak. Then no more will anyone resist." Towards noon, Sorabji Desai, who apparently feels stronger, sends a message to Baba through his younger brother, expressing the special wish for us of the party to see his holy sanctuary. Sorabji, who always was a worshiper of truth, had collected during the many years relics and personal documents of saints and a great spiritual souls, regardless of their differences of creed or religion, creating evidence of their holy lives through the testimony of inspiring documents. The most valuable in the collection is a letter from Baba written in his own handwriting in the form of a poem dedicated to his holy mother of revered memory, Hazrat Babajan, Sorabji's brother, who during his illness has become the guardian of the holy shrine, shows us also a locket containing the snow-white hair of the holy woman. Her hair appears brisk and strong, as if still alive with the spark of her divine life. He showed us a tiny bit of cloth which belonged to Saint Teresa of Avila. This recalls a few moments spent in Spain when, with Baba, we were visiting the city of Avila, where Saint Teresa had lived and performed her remarkable life. Standing in the cathedral, Baba said, "The saints are like the nerves of my body. They work for me, and I guide their lives." It is a remarkable fact that lives lived in purity of being create truth facts, and these permeating as atmosphere of benediction throughout age and time are felt by any pure human heart. A very interesting book entitled 101 Names of God, Volume 5, is put before us. Most of the explanations on the subject of universal order were directly given by Baba. The day that the last proof of the book was submitted to Baba for verification, a very interesting phenomena happened. Baba was holding the book, pointing on the chart to the highest point in the divine existence, God, when a huge light in the form of an arrow shoots forth from his head and, transforming into a luminous spiral, fills the room with golden glow, which to all present becomes evident and is felt as divine light that is transgressing all form is oneness. Before leaving the room, we turn toward Sarabji to express our gratitude for the inspiration we had obtained. He responds with a smile and salutes us as friends. We feel after these few moments of communion with saintly memories that the spiritual bond which already had been established is strengthened.
Later in the day, a visitor finds her way to our private bungalow. She is an Eastern lady, elegant in appearance with manners of the world. Visible lines of suffering mark her beautiful and noble face. The purpose of her coming is clearly determined by reserved attitude. She comes to call on the God-man. Although her visit is expected, nevertheless, her name is carefully reported, and she is asked to wait in patience to be received. Baba wants the aspirant to be calm before meeting him. He needs the human apparatus, which he works through, to be in tranquil state of mind, in control of nerves and emotion. Mrs. X is one of the most outstanding personalities in the city of Navsari. Her husband occupies a responsible position and holds the confidence of a large community. Her life is martyrdom. In no other way can the heroic struggle be defined that for years she has kept concealed within her lonesome heart in order to avoid outer conflicts and unworthy situations which could shock the perfect confidence given to her husband and herself by the community of Navsari. The facts which strengthen her pure determination to bear this life in struggle are clear. Her husband cannot agree with her free interpretation of religion. To her, religion is practice of truth in life. It is real experience, in purer conscience, independent from rituals and ceremonies. She married for a noble objective, to redeem the life of her husband. She felt endowed with the spiritual right to free him from unworthy bondage in mind, unworthy entanglements and influences of lower order that throughout all his life, even before his marriage, had obstructed his spiritual advancement. She had taken up the conscious struggle from the day she met him. Their married life was an unceasing ordeal, for he could not readily understand. Nevertheless, she carried out her duty as a true companion and wife of the high official in an immaculate way. Within her lonesome life, longing for the realization of truth, she marches on under the protection of the gods, which in her revealed as the voice. Harmonies of pure spiritual ecstasy compensated for the tortures in her mind. Souls personifying Krishna, Bhagwan, Muhammad, and other supreme beings many times appeared to her. Nevertheless, she felt the need for the alive human God. When she first met Sri Meher Baba, she realized that he was the perfect one whom she had expected for so long, that he would give new strength to her inner life to fulfill the divine theme, that he would give her courage to bear the external strife, that he would enlighten her and give her the understanding that this phase of her life is making good and is unfolding toward the pure end, and that she will be able to carry out her noble duties aloof, quiet in mind. We see her walk out of Baba's room after an unusually long meeting. Passing by where we are all standing, she remarks with unusual poise, "I shall be again here in the evening."
It is 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The music of a complete Indian orchestra begins to swing in harmonious notes and subtle thrills, tuning in with the worship of the few who have come to commune with Baba. Baba is seated on a low couch, especially arranged for him on a rug, leaving space for those who want to sit nearer and feel his influence. Baba's influence, that is peace, making peace in all. While Baba is surrounded by loving devotees, a message is sent by Saurabhji through his brother Jay, requesting Baba to grant his last wish, to take darshana from Baba. Baba allows that he should be brought, although it meant for the sick man to make a superhuman physical effort, as his condition is showing symptoms of life extinction. When he stands before Baba, he frees himself from the outer help given by his brother and drops to Baba's feet. The dying man is performing the last surrender in external rites with the increasing impulse of his longing soul that knows to be near the end, that is a new beginning. Suddenly, Baba, with imperative gesture, gives order that he should be taken back to bed, still holding in suspense his life with his divine will. The music stops just before 6 o'clock and is to commence again at 8. Mrs. X arrives. She comes like a holy priestess with her women, her friends, who represent the community of her own living church within, and whom for many years she had inspired and led on to the path. She brought them to Baba that they may, from now on, realize truth through him who is the personification of truth. Before her living Lord, she performs the holy sacrifice of pure self-dedication, using the ancient ritual of worship, the waving of the arti. She passes the flaming vessel before all present, then in it may be burned the old life and the resurrect begin in being. She prostrated herself before the alive idol, surrendering her whole life, that life which had to be realized beyond ecstasy, beyond emotion, deep within the sum of all life, her soul. She was conscious that her life was taking a new turn at the feet of the beloved, our Baba, who in no way accepts sacrifice without return of his love imperishable, without arousing the impetus of life divine in the one who shows the conscious courage to want to grow. When she put on Baba the white garment embroidered with silver and pearls, which she and her friends had worked in sincere devotion, she spoke with a loud voice, audible to everyone present. Beloved Lord of our age, may thou descend on earth like Lord Krishna and bring salvation to mankind. We have witnessed Baba arouse the slumbering affection in the human heart. We have seen him enlighten within the eternal flame of the soul. We see him here draw back to the divine source of all existence, a living soul, and we witness the offering of that living soul to the alive God.
The next morning, we hear that Sorabji has not rested. Baba goes to cheer him and sees him for the last time. New dispositions are given. 2 things are to be observed as strict order. No outsider should approach Sorabji from now on, and the directions of the doctor to be strictly followed. The date of the marriage ceremony has not been changed. The train to Bombay leaves at 7 a.m., but Baba gives order that we should be at the station half an hour earlier. The farewell is sweet and not sad, although everyone feels an apprehension the event of Surabji's approaching departure. One of the younger members of the family, who had become my special friend, made a wish before we left and begged me to take it deep into my heart. She said, "Tell Baba to call me soon." I answer, "For good?" She nods, "Yes, for good." Many curious people stand on the station platform
And stare at Baba, unconsciously taking the benefit of his atmosphere. One of the brothers said, "One does not speak to Baba. It is not necessary. One realizes through the spiritual atmosphere that expands from his pure being all that is good." The train leaves. We all sit for a while. Then Baba begins to play jokes and tricks and brings everyone back to the reality of a new day. At the station called Golvad, one of our party, R, is given an order to leave. He is to visit a family of lepers and deliver special instructions from Baba and return to Bombay later in the evening. We arrive at 11 a.m. in Bombay, the 25th of December, and return to Kay's home on the Frere Road.
Baba's brother, Jay, has arrived from Ahmednagar with Christmas mail. Letters, telegrams, cables have to be opened, read, and answered at once. A few cables to the west are to be sent on our way to Dadar, where again at Dees, a new gathering of more people has been arranged. We stop at the cable office, which is known as the very best business quarters for Bombay beggars. In fact, as soon as our car approaches the sidewalk, a very ragged old man steps forth. Kay, who is expert in finding the good souls among the worst of this erring tribe, recognizes the man and warns us not to give alms. Baba, who apparently never overhears anything, placidly turns towards Kay and orders him to give the man 3 pies. Kay, handing the money to the man, says, "You have to use it right and not for drinking." Baba, watching the situation, again signals to Kay to give the man another 3 pies. Kay, with best intentions, tries to interfere and says, "Oh, he is no good. If you give that man clothes, he will sell them to buy liquor." Upon this, Baba renews his orders for the 3rd time to give another 3 pies. The beggar, most satisfied, withdraws. At that, Baba himself makes a sign to the beggar to come back, and for the 4th time orders Kay to give the man another 3 pies. The pies became the holy symbol of mercy and love that works in realms unseen the purer benefit. The good, ignorant man walks off, no doubt thinking it was a profitable day. The program for the afternoon is to pay some visits to the poor and sick who have been anxiously awaiting Baba's holy visit. We are allowed to go with him and share in the feast of compassion. On our way home, we stop at the apartment of a charming friend, S.P., the young Parsi woman whom I last saw at Baba's birthday celebration in Nasik, and whom I cherish for her spiritual grace and simplicity. When Baba, walking through the long, shady balcony, unexpectedly stood before her, she is overwhelmed with surprise and joy. All are asked to enter the living room to meet her mother, who is a very gentle, distinguished old lady. Baba takes the 2 women who are dear to his heart into a corner of the room and with intense interest reviews their personal state of affairs. Meanwhile, I take in the charm of this typical Indian home, which reminds me so much of the habitations of southern Russia. The walls are whitewashed, crude in style, the doors and windows made of wood, ingeniously carved. Chairs and easy chairs and tables are leisurely placed here and there, to serve the simplicity that creates facility in living. There is no luxury or accumulation of things without purpose for practical use. These people are much more free than we are. They live with things, but are much more aloof from things. This evening, Baba retires early. He wants us all to do the same, to rest before the night's journey to Nagpur the next day.
The following day's work begins at 7:30 a.m. Innumerable interviews are given. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Baba decides to see Paul Mooney's film Zola. During the performance, Baba is sitting in the dark. He seems to be totally absent. His form appears as if left empty, but no longer than it has to be. Flashes of light make his eyes visible in the darkness. The performance is over, and all of us enjoyed this marvelous work of intelligence and tragic human realism. Baba, participating in our moods, humorously remarks through his board, "Do not worry, it is merely a nightmare." At 6:30 p.m. that same day, the 25th of December, we take the train for Nagpur. Again, the station is crowded by the many who did not want to miss the rare occasion to see once more their beloved Sadhguru. The ride to Nagpur is amusing. An excellent supper prepared ahead was served to us by K and A, both in excellent humor, making jokes and ending by singing spiritual hymns in choir with all the others. At 8:30 p.m., we are all ordered to sleep, huddled up between beds and garlands of flowers. It is the usual hour of 4 a.m. when Baba calls us to get up and to be ready for tea, which will be obtained from the next station. Nagpur, 9:30 a.m. The train pulls in. There stands B.J. with his sons E and J. K, the high judicial official on duty in the central provinces, also Dr. D, a good friend of us all. This reception without women is matter of fact, quick, and executive. Even the garlands, indescribable in beauty and richness in choice, placed around Baba's neck, are quickly removed by him as if there is no time to lose for sentimental ceremonies. Dr. D hands over to Baba quick reports giving the program for the 3-day stay in Nagpur. This time he requests to contact the masses. Baba's this visit to Nagpur is after 8 years. BJ drives Baba's car. Cheers are heard loud along the streets until we reach the beautiful house of red stone, surrounded by an exquisitely styled garden filled with roses and jasmine in bloom. Women are waiting at the entrance of Jay's home. The women in this part of the world are supposed to guard the holy shrine, to perform the ritual and wait in patient devotion. B's wife and daughters are standing in the doorway, and immediately as Baba's enters, they throw their arms around their beloved guest. Then, all prostrating their foreheads to his feet, perform this customary ritual, the breaking of the coconut, throwing flowers, spraying water to purify the path which leads to their home. All this to me, again, is an unusual sight and unusual experience. To us from the West, any kind of ceremonies appear external and separating, since we have realized the intimate experience of the unique spiritual relationship which needs no more to express through rituals and ceremonies. Within in our hearts, we never differ except through customs, habits, and modes of thinking. Moved by the purity of their hearts, we participate in their symbolism with all sincerity.
The J family is a wonderful, staunch group of individuals who have dedicated the purpose of their lives to Baba. B, the head of the family, who is one of Baba's right-hand men in Nagpur, said to me, "I love Baba more than anyone in my family. Although a father, I merely represent the head of a family of children of Baba. B is one of those men who live and die for their cause. Reminds me of those ancient heroes that fought for the holy grave. When B believes that he loves Baba more than his wife and children, he is fully aware of the responsibility of his statement. He loves his wife and children for their selves, which is the part in Baba. The impersonal viewpoint guides his life, his home, his duties, and his activities in civil service. These Parsis live a life of simple, natural dignity. The wife cooks the meals, and the immediate help is given by the daughters. Innumerable servants who float around like birds only do the lower manual work. Baba's bedroom, which is B's bedroom, is situated in the left wing of the large central hall, representing the formal living room in most of these Eastern houses. It forms a huge space, the inside built with a deep alcove protected against heat with no direct windows. Two huge doors at either end provide the necessary draft. It is here where Baba's sacred darshana is to be held during these 3 days. The first day's work begins. Baba enters the hall. He is welcomed by a simple and sincere greeting expressed by Dr. D in a speech of welcome. Arti is then sung to his holy presence by all the members of the J's family and our party. Baba, in divine humility, accepts the dedication. He lends himself to all religious rites. He accepts to have placed on his forehead the black powder and the haldi of the Hindus, and expects us, his disciples, to do the same. Love unselfish, service unselfish, are the pure expression of the true religion Sri Meher Baba practices in everyday life. These are the unique virtues he personifies. True religion is to live life spiritual, dedicating life to God unconditionally in mind, body, and spirit. The first interview of the day is given to Sushila and her friend Vimala, two sweet Hindu students. They enter Baba's room in attitude of worship with folded hands. They offer Baba fruits and flowers and sing for him a most beautiful ancient hymn in Sanskrit, conveying the unfathomable faiths of all times. Sushila, the more beautiful of the two, I shall never forget. While drawing in Baba's grace, the pupils of her eyes glide behind her lowering eyelids as if her whole life is diving in the ocean of divine bliss. Baba takes in the two souls at once and orders them to stay near him and not to leave the house during the 3 days. Another very interesting woman, a friend of Dr. D's wife, follows later. At first, she is shy and with uncertain attitude, stands outside of Baba's room waiting. The spiritual breeze that blows the warning in her heart is like storm. Although still very young, she is a poetess of great renown in the Urdu language. Her selfless divine dreams, which she expresses in unusual poetry, suffice to mark the indelible sign of her spiritual longing. Baba, who knows that the storm in her heart is beginning to express the purer want, drew her close. He made her realize the importance of the meeting. He offered himself as the great chance of her life, demanding unconditional acceptance. She knew that it was time to give in. She pledged to love, but him. She too remained close to Baba's room during the 3 days.
Baba's next act of mercy is the washing of a mad child. A special order had been sent a long time ahead for a child that in no way would be an ordinary child, but one of those types who have to consume in some condition of madness their own spiritual evolution. The child, unusually shy, is a black-eyed Hindu boy of about 7 years of age. When the child saw Baba, it jumped on his knees, throwing its arms around him. The reality of the holiness of the contact became proof and evidence. The child felt safe within Baba's embrace and rejoiced in the unfathomable fact of nearness with loud cries and resonant laughter. Every day, this child at the same hour is bathed by Baba's own hands in the bathroom where Baba takes his daily ablutions. We all realize clearly that Baba is doing great spiritual reparation work, even if the miracle should remain unseen. Baba, doing the realization work within, can superview the path of any life throughout any phase. He can throw off in man all that encumbers the liberating process in evolution. These are his great unseen miracles. He governs sure, unconditional, and pure, within and above, the I, life, mind, way. We so often see the most unexpected facts become realized to the bewilderment of those who in no way are expecting his grace. The father of the child has been ordered to keep the child in the house day and night during Baba's stay in Nagpur and to bring it to Mehrabad in April. The news spread as quick as fire that the God-man was to see anyone whose life was in despair defective, destitute. It came to be the alarm of life itself. The crying need made all stir and ready. Truth, when at the point to strength, the designated hour, strikes fast and safe. Many children are bought who are apparently in the same state as the first child. It is evident that the first child was predestined to find its way by creation order. That order which Baba sent forth, maybe long ago, as he knows the soul he needs to draw. Most of the time, we are allowed to stay in the room while Baba is giving interviews. This great privilege gives me the chance to gather notes on the most important facts. Baba's laconic language is the deep work that speaks in pure action. It is simple, but it has the power to control and form. One interesting incident happens at the meeting with a renowned man of Nagpur, a professor of philosophy and comparative religion. Baba's attitude at the beginning was almost an aloofness, which does not put the gentleman at ease. He feels shy at the apparently indifferent attitude of Baba. When the suspense reaches a certain point, Baba, summing the answer to all questions, states, "A simple thing has been made difficult through ignorance." Baba's word is truth, fact, that is action which forms and transforms. The man suddenly realizes the sense of truth. He apprehended deeper what philosophy and all the religions in theory had not been able to teach him. After a moment of deeper recollection, looking at Baba with the expression of a child that has well absorbed its lessons, he says, "Truth." To this, Baba, with his unfathomable smile, gives the sign of affirmation.
A mute spectator is standing every moment of the day in a corner of Baba's room, untouched from facts and results that witnessed in awe during these strenuous working hours of Baba's first day in Nagpur. He is Jal K, an intimate friend of the family, whom we already met at the station. He seems to be lost in the light that from the divine giver is pouring unending grace on all life, that in those stirring hours displays its loud cry for liberation. He reminds me of the young monk in the stained glass window of an ancient cathedral in perpetual adoration before the image of God. It is 7:30 p.m. The doors are open for the impatient worshipers waiting outside. Hindus, Mohammedans, Parsis, appearing in the most fantastic, colorful costumes, kneeling, bowing, prostrating before the alive God, is a spectacle I will never forget. Many in rags, those refused by social law and bound to consume by lower order of life their expiation. One day, through the changing consciousness, these too will realize that life in ignorance is not unjust, and the only life unconscious is not safe, and only life unconscious is not safe. By passing his holy hands over their anguished heads, touching the ill spots of their bodies, he gives to their being the unconditional order to awaken. God and his creature in love with each other, longing to join in divine bliss, perform the progress in union. It is 11:30 p.m. Baba's life, like the white lily floating on a mirror-like surface, becomes languorous in action. It is a signal to end the labors of the day, surrender our lives to him. It is belief in this one which I proclaim, that lovely one whom I have known for many years, and whom I now serve in the human form of my master, Meher Baba. It is belief in this one which would have others share in order that the day of his manifestation may be hastened, and that the world's misery may be turned into spiritual joy.
The 27th of December. The second day's performance begins with the usual duties: washing the mad child, answering the mail, interviews, tea in the afternoon at the poetess's home, open darshan in the evening, and concert. A peculiar incident happens during the hours of the morning. A woman speaking broken English, looking the real type of the Indian soil, walks up to me. She tells me this most extraordinary story. I hear repeat in the same naive style it was told to me. This child of nature, crude in eye, but real in being, all her life has been seeking for God. She had a daughter who, impatient to see God, committed suicide. Before dying, she gave her mother the solemn promise that she would send down God to her. Adorable fool, sweet, ignorant child. No doubt her unconscious act God has forgiven. No one dies for him in vain. This wonderful woman, whose truthful story I took into my heart, led by the spirit of her visionary daughter, comes to Nagpur where she finds the God. All day I saw her standing as close as she could to where Baba was, silently taking in the sweetness of his presence. Her own sister, a similar type, solid, staunch, peasant-like woman with a heart of gold, arrives in the afternoon. She asks to meet me. No doubt she wants to convey to Baba that she believes he is the right one. She said, I have recognized him. He is the avatar. I do not need to ask him any questions. I do not need to touch him. I hear his voice. I see him within my heart. In the afternoon, we are expected at the home of Dee, the young poetess. Baba is received in a beautiful, clean, bright room, which serves also as a bedroom. Her own bed was prepared like a throne for Baba to sit upon. Over the immaculate white embroidered bedspread, she had placed flowers and fruits. At the end of the bed stood a small table which had been made into an altar at Baba's feet, and on it are the shiny silver vessels that serve for the ceremony. A candle is burning dim and sweet, and incense forms a blue spiral around Baba's feet. After these holy offerings, Baba asks her to read some of her poems. She reads with a loud voice and with the authority of a strong personality which affirms itself in art. She becomes a different woman. Baba greatly admires the depth and beauty of her thought. With unexpected simplicity, which was prompted from the sincerity of her spiritual longing, she implores Baba that he would reveal to her divine love. The solemnity of her request creates a moment of suspense. Baba, taking her arms into his, gives the promise. Present at this initiation, performed in a human free manner, all of us are all of us who form Baba's party. Baba leaves, and with him in his car are B and JK, Baba's brother Jal, and myself. B drives in serpentines on a perfectly paved asphalt roads between lovely gardens, bungalows with eastern facades, palaces, fourth official ordinances, and so forth. We see many elegant and good-looking women wearing bright-colored saris, promenading babies in go-karts of English make through the neatly planted public gardens. We drive out of town past the beautiful summer swimming pool, no doubt a club for the fashionable world. At this moment, Baba, who so often uses humor to attenuate outwardly the inner shock of his word in truth, turns abruptly to JB, who is sitting at his feet. Do you swim? Yes, he answers. Well, continues Baba, one day you will swim in the infinite ocean of love. I am the ocean of love. Later on, passing by the house of one of the foreign magnates, Baba remarks, lust wants possessions, love gives possessions.
We return home to find new people standing, waiting in rows. Baba retires to his room for a few moments. The police are at the gate to make clear the way. The doors have to be kept shut to hold back the people who had been untiring in waiting during the afternoon. Special precautions are taken to prevent the overflow from breaking in. B's son and a few of the devotees have to form a chain with their strong arms to give free passage to a few to enter at one time. It is 7:30 p.m. The hall is already packed when Baba walks in to take his seat on the beautiful couch, richly decorated with pillows, shawls, carpets, representing the donations of the day. The feast of love is in full swing. The music begins to storm. The Indian music is like nature. It swings, it thrills in forms of all rhythms. It is a bird song. It is the human sigh, the exode of the soul. It contains the echo of life itself. A remarkable individual suddenly enters the room, drawing the attention of the entire audience. Huge in stature, young, powerful in appearance, loud in manners, this man seems to be well known, as many cheer at his coming. When he laughs, his mouth opens like a huge crevice in crude, dark earth. But visible in his expression is the inner divine child that makes his eyes glow with joy unfathomable. Who is he? We were bound to ask. Someone whispers, he is a saint. With the unself-conscious attitude of a child, he places himself at Baba's feet. He does not ask for Baba's darshana, but unconventional and free, releases with loud voice sentences that must have been prompted from within, swinging in subtler rhythm. Baba, who was working, doing, forming, acting, unendingly bending in mercy over the perpetual streaming flow of humanity who came to call for the divine gift, knew this passerby. He indulges his presence for a short while, giving him time and space to react in his own individual way to the truth shock that unconditionally had to strike this personality too, who was hailed as a saint, but whom Baba knew to be only midway. At a due moment, Baba makes him feel that he should change his place and sit at the other end of the hall. The man responds instantaneously and withdraws, taking his seat near the orchestra. The breeze of love that Baba rouses in that soul works like storm, giving vent to his spiritual emotion. He takes one of the drums and begins to beat, fiery like a volcano in eruption. He throws off into space his ringing voice. After a while, Baba passes another intuition order, which makes him stop and leave. Calm and peace reign again after the exciting interlude, which is balm to all.
On the 28th of December, the expected telegram from Navsari arrives, giving the announcement of Sarabji Desai's death on the 27th of December, 20 minutes after the marriage ceremony, precisely timed by Baba as the cause of events proved. None of us feel surprised as on the prescribed day, Baba, in his executive way, persistently kept inquiring about news from Navsari. His mind was visibly set upon this work. The work was to spend death at will. The day is spent in apparent excitement of external action. To serve him in these executive moments of his work, we practice continuous concentration and attention. We consciously keep vigil upon the point on which he is focusing. At different occasions, we may have to travel. We may be ordered to run back and forth between his place and the spot or the form on which he directs his divine spark. We have to speak to people on the subject he will design. Baba directs the drama of life and death using his unfathomable humor. Sarabji Desai's death had to be timed to conform also with external circumstances. The ceremony should be performed at the ordained hour and have the natural course of events without interruption by external shocks. The family should be satisfied and the guests should rejoice. For this, the miracle of suspending death at will had to be performed with subtle tact and discretion. While reading the telegram, Baba appeared very satisfied and said, "Well done." During the intense working hours of the morning, an interesting incident happens. From the other side of the city of Nagpur came a man who is the guardian of Baba Tajuddin's resting place. Tajuddin Baba was one of the 5 perfect masters who belonged to the powerful hierarchy that governs the inner affairs of mankind on our material plane. He is accompanied by a young Parsi of prominent family who, in his life of affairs, tries to fight for honesty and justice, but whose life is utter misery and unhappiness. This young man has become a fervent seeker of truth. Every morning at 4 o'clock, he would take his car and drive to the tomb of of Baba Tajuddin. The young man, who is used to prayer, loves these hours of worship and holds to it with unusual steadfastness and determination. But thinking practically, he realized that he was speculating on the unseen, and one day questioning the guardian whether it would not be wiser for him to meet the alive perfect master. This pleased the guardian to a certain point only, as he did not like to see the grave of his beloved Sadguru deserted. He advised the young man not to let his mind swerve with unnecessary considerations, but go on with his regular routine of worship for the great master who in consciousness is always present.
A peculiar uncertainty and inner restlessness brought a decision in a moment of desperation. The young man made up his mind to challenge the power of Tajuddin. He placed his wish before the still monument, which so far had revealed very little to him, and said, "If you are who you are, you will make it true that I meet the alive master." The guardian did not want his beloved Sadguru to disappoint the young worshiper of truth, so he, too, joined in his wish. With persistent prayers, he invoked the beloved one to demonstrate and fulfill the young man's wish. So it happens one morning, the guardian hears the voice of Tajuddin, speaking through intuition, that within 3 months, a living Sadguru would be in Nagpur. 3 months later, Sri Sadguru Meher Baba arrives in Nagpur. While the young Parsi stood before the holy monument, he was sure that truth really is this impersonal being who in him gives the sign to react. But through the inner order and intuition is calling to purer order in conscience. He believes that it is the voice of the same pure order in being as the impersonal one that gave the signal within to the guardian, who is to lead the young man to meet Sri Meher Baba, the personification of the impersonal one. We are all present in the room when the young Parsi and the guardian call on Baba's grace. The young man now knows that truth is reality, which becomes a fact and takes form in the alive, personified, impersonal one. He knows that God is consciousness in being. And when he sees Baba, he knows that Tajuddin or Baba is the same truth, the same power, the same life in conscious order, in pure substance. The young man realizes that the lives of these pure beings are one life in perpetual will function, creating perpetual attraction to light of life unconscious. The fact to have met Sri Meher Baba becomes, for the young man, an event of great importance. No doubt this Parsi will experience in himself the way to truth and in himself become conscious of the unconditional importance to be a subordinate in being of one who is the divine personified pure existence, as is Sri Meher Baba. To be the disciple of a perfect master means to have in life no desire to satisfy the I, to have no want in being, but the profound longing to expand in him as the beloved and to exist and serve him as his subject. To be or not to be, therein lies all the difficult question. It is hard to learn to live in subordination, but it is supreme experience to realize resurrection of the divine part in being as the want unfathomable that marks time in spiritual evolution. Life in selfless subordination in him, the beloved, is the wish of all who dedicate their very lives to him, ready to accept any challenge for the fulfillment of the long-lived dream to unite in him with life eternal.
Jai Meher Baba.
Jai
Avatar Meher Baba
Ki
ki
Jai.
jai.
Hey, Baba, beautiful stories, those. Wow.
Very beautiful.
What a trip.
Yeah, yeah.
Jai Baba, we will see you next week, and thank you
So,
again for sending.
Dr. D in the story is perhaps Deshmukh.
Yeah, I think so. I think we can figure
Yeah.
out
And then-
Jal Karawal, Jal from Jabalpur. Was it?
Yeah, yeah.
And
yeah.
that Dorabji, the one that passed, that was Mansari's uncle, I think, wasn't it?
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah,
think,
Durabji.
I think he's the one, and I see him in the 1937 film in Nasik, Baba's birthday, and he has a black hat on, and he's small like Mansari, and he's giving a talk, very animated, and I thought it has to be Mansari's uncle.
Okay. Great reading, both of you. Thank you. Jai Baba.
Baba.
I want to leave one line from the mystical language that as we go on, you'll run across that I absolutely feel I'm stunned and inspired by it. God in us is rejoicing his own experience of joy.
Yeah,
Jai
beautiful.
Baba.
Very beautiful.
Jai Baba. Jai Baba. Thank you.
Hey, Baba.
Jai Baba.
Thank you so much. Lovely to hear your voices and how you read it.
Okay,
Just
Jai
puts me
Baba.
into such a special spot. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Jai Baba, Emily.
Jay Baba.
Hey, Baba.
Jai Baba.
Hey, Baba, then.
Because next week we'll be, I don't know when you came in, but we'll be reading an article about the must play. And
Oh,
And then a tour of Ajmer, two articles about travels in Ajmer with Baba.
Baba loved Ajmer because there are a lot of advanced souls that he could meet with there. He just loved it.
Jai
Thank you
Baba.
so much. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.